Hi folks, Rob here. Recently I've been reading more and more about this concept going around. The claim is that it's illegal to use a legal name. And it's called the legal name fraud, or lose the name, win the game. And it was originally put out by a very special snowflake who I met while he was going by the name Keith Thompson, who now decides that he's a she and her name is Kate of Gaia. A very special snowflake indeed. The argument goes like this. It's illegal to use your legal name because it's not your name. It belongs to the Crown because they've copywritten it or they've copyrighted it. And the claim is that it's copywritten because it will be found on a birth certificate and the birth certificate is copyrighted. Here's the problem. First of all, when it comes to copyrights, when it comes to names, you don't copyright a name, you trademark a name. If you want to protect intellectual property in the form of a name, use a trademark, not a copyright. Copyrights are for works, like a work of art, say a birth certificate. And that copyright is granted prior to your name being included upon it, and it only covers the information which is there prior to that point. There are other things that will be copywritten, and some of these are printed by the Canadian Banknote Company. Concert tickets. They print concert tickets, and you'll often find your name on those. That does not grant copyright to the promoter of a concert. They also print diplomas, and you will find names on diplomas, but this does not grant the party who issued the diploma copyrights over your name. The other point is that for you to commit a fraud, it requires an intent to commit a fraud. An honest belief is in fact a very powerful defense against charges of fraud. And when I pointed this out to proponents of this belief, they said, well, you didn't know then, but now you do know because I just told you, and now if you use it, you're committing fraud. And that's complete bullshit as well. Their opinion does not create a truth which would give rise to charges of fraud. The people who are claiming that it's copywritten by the Crown, you'll notice a number of things. One, they are never agents for the Crown. It's never the Crown making this claim. It's always someone who is not empowered to act for the Crown making this claim. Now, when it comes to claims, whether or not you're talking about sticks in the mud or an oral representation or something in writing, claims have to be made. They have to be published. They have to be made publicly, openly, notoriously. When I brought this up to some of the proponents, they said, well, the Crown wouldn't be doing that because then they'd be letting out their secret, and they're trying to be secretive about it. But if they don't make the claim, they haven't made the claim. And that's all there really is to it. Either they are willing to point out where the Crown actually made this claim or they're not. And if they can't point out where the Crown made that claim, then the Crown hasn't made the claim. There's no such thing as secret claims. The other thing is no one has ever been charged, tried, and convicted for using their legal name and charged with fraud. And to believe that, oh well, once you use the name, they just treat you as if you are committing fraud and you don't even have to go to trial, is a complete abandonment of the entire justice system and the entire concept of having to face charges. Now, I do agree that it does evidence, your birth certificate does evidence a number of things. First of all, it is not a banknote. It is printed by the Canadian Banknote Company, but they print all sorts of security documents. I don't even know if they do print banknotes anymore. They might, but I do know they print things like tickets. They print identification documents for private enterprise, high security passes. They print diplomas. They print all sorts of things, none of which are banknotes. Just because it's printed by the Canadian Banknote Company doesn't make it a banknote. Secondly, copyrights are applicable to works, not names. Trademarks are applicable to names, and your copyright, if you copyright a form, say McDonald's has application forms, job application forms, they're copywritten. When you put your name on such an application, that does not grant McDonald's copyright to your name. Now, your birth certificate does evidence two things. Unarguably, without a doubt, two things are evidenced. One, you were born at a certain time or place, and two, there is a relationship or an association between yourself and the issuing party. Now, the type of relationship, the type of association, that would be open to discussion and debate, but those are really the only two things which are evidenced by that. Your name is not copywritten by the Crown. It's absolute bullshit. And the people who make that claim are never acting for the Crown. They can't point out anywhere where the Crown has ever made the claim, nor can they point out where the Crown has ever defended that claim. No one has ever been charged and found guilty with doing so. It's one of the stupidest legal positions I've ever seen out there, and I don't know whether or not it's being put out there purposely in order to make people in the freedom movement look especially stupid, or whether or not there are simply really stupid people out there who honestly believe it. So let's sum up. 1, names are not copywritten, they're trademarked. 2, your name on a document which has been previously copywritten does not extend the copyright to that name that's been placed upon it. 3, the Crown has never claimed that copyright. 4, claims have to be actually made. There's no such thing as secret claims. 5 or 4, whatever, I lost count already, no one's ever been charged with it. If anyone tells you that it's illegal to use a legal name, refer them to this video, tell them to fuck off, shut up, because they're a goddamn idiot. Your name is your name. Your legal name is your property. You do have a right to use it. Using it is not fraud. Now, I'm not saying there's not something sneaky, there's not something hanky-panky going on in the relationship which it evidences, which is established by that. I believe it is a trust relationship which is evidenced. I also believe that it evidences that you own a certain amount of wealth and it's being held in trust for you. And if you abandon your legal name, if you start thinking, oh, it's not mine, I can't use it because if I do, I'm committing a fraud, then you are abandoning the wealth associated and attached to that name as well. It is incredibly detrimental to you, and it is highly beneficial to the Crown. If anyone wants to claim that your legal name is copywritten by the Crown, simply ask them for proof in the form of the Crown making that claim. If they try telling you, oh, well, the Crown can't make that claim because then the gig is up, then point out that the failure to make a claim means there is no claim. Ask them to show you where anyone has ever been charged or convicted with fraud for using their own legal name. They won't be able to do that. Ask them where it says that names can even be copywritten instead of trademarked. They won't be able to do that. The simple fact of the matter is, your name is not copywritten by the Crown, and it is not an act of fraud to use it yourself. And if anyone wants to argue this with me, I'd be more than willing to put up some money, match what they put up, and we'll take it into a court and we'll have it judicially determined to see whether or not the Crown has actually ever claimed copyright over our legal names. We'll see whether or not using our legal names is in fact an act of fraud or not. You'll find that it's not the case. You have every right in the world to use your legal name. Doing so is not an act of fraud. It is not illegal to use your legal name. And the people who are advancing this belief system are complete idiots. Tell them Rob said so.